Mike Rodriguez has 4 inches of height, 5 inches of reach, and he's a southpaw, and that makes this fight very tricky for Tafon Nchukwi, who's moving back up to 205 pounds after his first 2 fights in the UFC at middleweight. We have an interesting fight going on. You can find myself, Craig Allen, at Craig Allen FMP, on Twitter and Instagram if you want to discuss the fights. Matt Allen, at Matt Allen FMP, and no, he won't battle you out on Tapology. Nobody got time for that. Matt, we have this fight between Slow Mike Rodriguez, who's 5 on in, is absolutely disgusting. It's 1-3 with a draw. He's taking on Tafon Nchukwi. Actually, it's not even a draw. It's a no contest that he fought against John Allen because he lost the fight. So really, it's 1-4. But John Allen, USADA, and so on and so forth. For Tafon Nchukwi, it's 4-1, and the wins were nice. He beat at McCowan. And that was a nice win. We talked about that in his last 2. He beat William Knight. He knocked him out, defended some takedowns. He beat Al Matavao, who shouldn't have been fighting at 205 pounds. He beat Jamie Pickett with volume. That was nice to see out of a power puncher. And then his last time out, he fought Junyoung Park. And we have to talk about this fight because that is the reason, I am sure, why he's moving back up to 205. Probably thought 185. We're just going to go lean, mean fight machine. Lloyd Irvin and everybody from the gym, they're going to help me out. I'm going to go on this crazy run at 185 because it's not as stacked as 205. That sounds fishy, but I'm going to make it work. And he looked great against Jamie Pickett, so that's cool. And then he fought Junyoung Park, and I want to say we both had Tafon Nchukwi to win that fight. Junyoung Park's teammate had just beaten William Knight, Dang Jung, so, there was some reason to be excited about Junyoung Park. The Iron Turtle, he's a fun fighter. He's got some nice wins on his record, too, if you want to go back and look at it. But what happened? First round's a little close. Second round, we're starting to go Junyoung Park. And then Tafon Nchukwi fell off cliff in the third round. Like, bad. Like, big time bad. So, if you look at that one, the scores, definitely not very fun. That was considered a majority decision because Tony Weeks wasn't paying attention. He scored that fight 28-28. The other judges, 29-26, 30-25. The other score, 28-28. We just can't be having that. So, for me, first round, close. Second round, Nchukwi loses a point because he decided to go for a cup check. And then in the third round, he gets 10-8'd. So you add those scores up, it's not 28-28. So he's taking on a weird test in Mike Rodriguez, a guy who got out-grappled big time by Danilo Marquez. Did we say Marquez might not have been UFC caliber coming in or even in that fight? Yeah. Did we have a bad taste in our mouths because Mike Rodriguez should have beaten Ed Herman because he had nuts in his chest? Yeah. Before that, he knocked out Marcin Pragno. All of this within a calendar year. So you can understand how I have a weird view of Mike Rodriguez in my head for just about every one of his fights, right?
I think Tafon Nchukwi knocks him out, and I don't even think it's going to take him that long. I really don't. This is my problem with Mike Rodriguez. He's one of these fighters who is good at holding distance, but bad at keeping it. Hear me out. When he does have distance, you mentioned it, he's a tricky southpaw. He's kind of a sniper in the way that he does strike. He's not somebody who throws in combination. He relies on catching his opponent as they close the distance on him. Tafon Nchukwi throws in combination, though, and throws at distance, and that's really the key in this fight. I worry about the gas tank of Tafon, because I'm always going to after what I saw in his last performance, but based on his UFC debut, at a minimum, he can keep output if it just is a striking battle. This is what Nchukwi's cardio really comes down to. He does not have the muscle endurance to grapple at all at the MMA level. He's a phenomenal kickboxer, and if you do allow him to just strike, I do think his cardio actually can look good in a type of fight where he is just striking 15 minutes. I don't think Mike Rodriguez is the type of guy who's going to go out there and try to shoot for a lot of takedowns. I do think this is going to be a weird fight. And I'll get your opinion on this. I think this will be one of those fights where neither guy lands a significant strike until like the 4th minute of the first round. I think there's going to be a significant amount of feeling out process because I don't think Nchukwi is going to really want to commit with any of his strikes. And I do think that Mike Rodriguez is kind of happy to stay on the back foot sometimes in his fights. So I don't think anything's going to happen for the first 4 minutes or so. Then I think Tafon's going to immediately hit a switch, land one big shot, and knock out Mike Rodriguez up against the cage. I really do. I don't think Rodriguez has the level of striking that could really hurt a guy like Nchukwi on the feet.
So for Tafon Nchukwi, 13-1 Muay Thai record. He was a 2016 and 2017 WKA national champion. He was a world champion, one of the, I think it was 2017 as well. Again, coming out of Team Lloyd Irvin, so, take that for what it's worth. For Mike Rodriguez, Rivera Brothers Boxing, Lowe's on MMA. I mean, he does kind of have that complete package. It's just, it shows itself in weird ways.
He's kind of like Pascal Siakam. Like, he does a lot of things well, but nothing so well that in the playoffs, you're like, wow, he can go to the well every single time with that one move. Like, the spin move's nice.
Keep trying to back guys up.
Yeah, the spin move's nice, but you need more than just that one post move. Now, Pascal Siakam is a much better NBA player than Mike Rodriguez is MMA fighter, but still, it's one of those things where it's a lot of things to like, but nothing to love in the game of Mike Rodriguez, and that's what I think is going to be the issue for him. He's not a good enough wrestler to where he can go out and get the takedown if things aren't going well for him on the feet, and I definitely don't think Mike Rodriguez is going to go out there and start outstriking Tafon Nchukwi.
You want to get really crazy?
Let's get crazy.
Mike Rodriguez can play mind games because he was featured on week 5 of season 1 of Dana White's Contender Series, and he can go, hey, pop his collar, go boys. I won the headliner for that one. In the co-main event, Tafon Nchukwi's teammate Peter Pettis lost this fight. And then also on that card, Shelton Graves, who won, but didn't make it to the UFC. So Mike Rodriguez can just go, your guys suck. They didn't make it. I made it to the UFC. I've been here since 2017, repping 4 years. Not the sexiest record. Could be one of 4 and his 5 on in. For Nchukwi, though, you don't see him winning past the second or third?
I think he can. Again, I really do think that this fight's going to be a kickboxing affair for the most part. And if you do let Nchukwi just strike, I don't think he's going to get that tired. We've seen it. If you allow him to throw in volume even, he can have some sort of staying power in that third round. I like that he throws in combinations. Nchukwi just strikes a lot like Fiziev does. I know that might be a bit of a controversial thing to say, but they both throw a lot of power behind their combinations. They don't just throw their combinations, and I always bring up Dan Hardy for this, where Dan Hardy's big thing is, when you throw a combination, it should be, you always switch up which is the power punch. So if it's like 1-2 left hook, then maybe sometimes you throw the 2 with a lot of power. Sometimes you throw the left hook with a lot of power. Nchukwi has that kind of a striking game to where when he throws his combinations, he can switch up the levels and the velocity in which he throws each strike. I don't think Slow Mike Rodriguez thinks about striking on that level, and that's why I don't think he's going to win.
It's a tricky one. The odds for this one opened at par. Nchukwi now minus 130 favorite. Mike Rodriguez at a plus 106 or thereabouts. If we have a look at the Topology votes, 1,036 votes, 82% Nchukwi, 78% have him to win by knockout. For the 18% that have Rodriguez, 44% by decision, 46% by knockout. I think you will get a finish in this fight, and if not, it's going to be really boring. I have Tafon Nchukwi in this one. But I get it. Mike Rodriguez has a bad record, especially in his last 5 fights. He definitely has an opportunity. That one's reflected in the odds, maybe not by the fan vote. So I have Nchukwi, but I would not have this one on my card. It's pot and popcorn at its finest.
I'm not going to let Slow Mike Rodriguez scare me that much. I'm really not. Like, you almost maybe kind of beating Ed Herman isn't enough for me. I'm sorry. I do like Tafon in this fight. I do think he'll be able to get the finish.
Both of us going with Tafon Nchukwi to get the win. Let us know who you have in this fight. And the other 14 fights that are on this card, we have Anthony Smith taking on Ryan Spann at the end. You're not going to want to miss it, so keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, as we always say.
Let's get into it.